Hello and welcome to Critical Idiots. Today we find out why Brodie's ducking my calls. Based upon the iconic animated series, this Scooby-Doo reboot focuses on the friendship between Scooby and Shaggy. However, that friendship is tested when their childhood hero, Blue Falcon, enlists them to stop the infamous Dick Dastardly and his evil plans. Guys, what do we think of this film?
I am a really big fan of Scooby-Doo, even though it's very campy and silly and has very glaring flaws. There's still like a lot of like silly things that are clearly intentional about it, and I grew up watching it. And this film, I don't think there was a single thing I liked about this film.
Yeah, well, Scooby-Doo is a staple. Even baby boomers, kind of like grew up watching Scooby-Doo, and it's like still held up. There's like certain things like Johnny Quest or like Falcon, which they reference in this, which don't have that kind of status.
Didn't it bring in a lot of other Hanna-Barbera cartoons into this?
Yeah. I think what they're trying to do with this one is they're trying to create a whole cinematic universe
for these cartoons.
For the Warner Brothers.
And it keeps failing for Warner Brothers when they try to do this.
Yeah, they failed with the DC universe.
Yeah. It's just been a total show.
So I started watching this film with Charles. As we were watching it, I was saying to him how it starts off at the beach. It starts off at Venice Beach, and the way that you introduce your characters for the first time you see these, it should be very iconic of what you're about to watch. And rather than being on sunny Venice Beach, I was like, why isn't this like Halloween? And Shaggy's a kid and he meets Scooby during Halloween, and
Scooby's trying to steal someone's candy.
Scooby takes somebody's candy and then they're running from some bullies or whatever.
Or he's scared by something and then he's running and then Scooby's running from the people he stole the candy from and jumps into Shaggy's arm.
Yeah, it's the second, and then as soon as this Venice Beach scene finishes, which is incredibly cringy and boring, it cuts to Halloween, and it cuts to exactly the scene that I was describing, and I'm like, just do that. Just do that.
I would disagree with
the movie's about their friendship, so it's not about the Scooby Gang. That's what they.
But they can still cement their friendship in the environment that the show takes place in.
I know, but that's not the film you're watching.
No, but you can cement that theme into the Halloween opening.
It sets up an origin story, which I thought was it was. I mean, albeit a little bit sort of generic. I thought it was, heartwarming.
What do you mean, like the second scene?
No, the original, like when they meet together.
Oh, yeah.
It's just hilarity ensues. Oh, we meet together, and
all those events can happen, but not at a sunny beach in a Scooby-Doo movie.
Who did it better, Up or Scooby-Doo?
Oh, come on.
First really 10 minutes when they're kids and stuff, and then it shows them growing into adults.
and Scooby dying.
Yeah,
you're making me imagine a version with them.
But I thought the first 10 minutes of this film, including the beach scene, I thought of all the comedic bits, that was the stuff that landed. The first 10 minutes for me was just hilarity on hilarity.
I'm not talking about content though. I'm talking about setting.
Setting I get.
Yeah.
It's unusual for a Scooby-Doo film to have any sort of sunlight.
Yeah, well, like it's not like Scooby-Doo. They're often going to on vacation, and then a mystery comes up, and like, well, this is what we do.
At some point, you got to realize that the problems are following you now.
Yeah,
I think we're looking at it wrong actually, because his life in a way is happy, like with the sun and the Venice Beach, and then it gets darker as it goes on. So I think maybe we're just looking at it wrong. Actually, Scoob brought darkness into his world.
Yeah. It created this decade-long toxic codependent relationship where Scoob can't have other friends.
Scoob does his taxes.
Yeah.
So they set up the main kind of problem in this film. Simon Cowell is eating lunch with them, and he kind of goes, well, Fred, you're the brawn, and Velma, you're the brains, and Daphne, you're the empath, and you guys, Scooby and Shaggy, I can't invest with you guys as part of the team. And so it kind of sets up this, what is our role in the mystery team? And I don't dislike that as like an idea to explore, but they don't get very far with it. They find out at the end that their role in the group is the heart.
Which is like...
What's the difference between the...
It's a bit redundant, because isn't Daphne the empath?
Velma just comes up and goes, oh, that's what you guys are? You're the heart!
And that just, you remember in like, when you watch like Captain Planet as a kid and it's like fire, earth, heart. It's like, no, dude, think of another one.
What I want to know is why are all these villains and stuff spending so much money on costumes only to be found out by kids?
Dude, see, I'm actually selling a bunch of plasmas that I got on the black market, and as a security system, I rigged up, so I obviously dressed in like a ghost costume. I've got wires, and so say if like 5 children broke in, I would come out and I would kind of chase them hanging from these wires, and then they would leave, and then that would be my security.
Can we talk about the scene where Fred gets pulled over by the policewoman?
Oh,
yeah.
so you have to have enjoyed
this,
that.
Like hot babe, and he's like, oh, I wish they make men into dogs and these things, but and then she's Dick Dastardly. So he's like in this petite, policewoman,
And he doesn't know how he feels about this.
Yeah, he's got the pin-up model, like kind of like body as well, and then it's just like pulls out this ridiculous like sized head.
I feel like Dick Dastardly's head kept throwing me off in this film because in like the cartoons he has like a very narrow, long face, and it's still like long.
And this one is like really
He looks
chunky.
like Quagmire from Family Guy. And I'm like, that's not really what he looks like.
My main problems was the spaceship. And how wide it was. It looked like a scene from Men in Black or something. It's just weird.
I didn't get when like Dick Dastardly had this crazy like rocket machine and like these little robot minions, and I was like, I don't think that was ever his gimmick. Like he was like dastardly and did traps and probably had some inventions, but it wasn't like. It wasn't that.
Well, just everything felt like they were going for that futuristic appeal, and the minions were too obvious.
It really did remind me of Dr. Robotnik from the Sonic movie this year, where he has just kind of all these generic white robots go after his prey.
But they're all trying to do like a new Minions.
They also
they just want to make toys
they look
and
like
sell
something to be sold in a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
I sort of disagree with that.
Oh, there it is.
I think it was trying to copy. Do you guys remember the remake of Peabody and Mr. Sherman? That happened in 2009.
No, I don't remember.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
So yeah, there was a remake of Peabody and Mr. Sherman a while ago, and
I didn't watch it, but I know what you're talking about.
I think a lot of the themes in this movie and also the animation kind of take on that. Only they did it a lot worse in this film. That one's.
I hate the animation in this film, but we'll
Really?
get onto that later.
I really love the animation.
It's also just like the scenes, like I was saying, like the spaceship being this like white set or whatever. Like it's so boring. It's so not Scooby-Doo.
But I think the whole issue is it's just why is a spaceship?
It's just to
Why
sell
is it the
toys.
big
So you
thing?
have these superheroes, you got these robots, you got like this and that, and it's just like the whole thing feels like a commercial mess.
Thing is, where are they selling toys? I've not seen a single toy for this movie.
Toys R Us. Oh wait.
That may have been the plan initially to sell toys. I don't know what they're selling now.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me about this is it just feels like there is no reason for any of these characters to be in this film because it's not really a Scooby-Doo movie. It doesn't have any of the real tropes.
Yeah, it's more of a generic movie with Scooby-Doo's brand attached to it.
Yeah.
It's not a Blue Falcon film because nobody really gives a shit about the Blue Falcon.
I didn't-
Probably.
yeah.
I thought he was made up for this film.
No, I think he's been in a crossover with Scooby-Doo back in like the 70s or some shit.
It's a bit disappointing that all the Hanna-Barbera characters have better progression arcs than the actual gang.
Yeah.
The fact, they keep the three Daphne, Velma, and Fred very separate from Scooby and Shaggy. This entire movie,
they're caricatures.
Yeah.
They don't have any change from what they're perceived as.
Yeah, they just almost stand in. Like they have to be there.
I always get annoyed that Fred gets because in that that Scooby-Doo film from the 2000s or whatever, the live action one, they make Fred a douchey sort of jockey guy who's pretty whatever. And I feel like there's this original sort of campy quality in the 70s that Fred he's he's a little bit of an effeminate male. He wears an ascot. He's got a sense of style, and there's these slightly gay undertones for his character. And I wish they went there, not in a.
well, they kind of did sort of.
It's funny because he's gay, but just this sort of
Ponzi jock.
Well, that he's the typical character is usually this exactly what we see in this film. And I would like to have seen something where, I don't know, they subverted it a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't feel any depth. Same with Daphne. She became the sex object. Daphne's the one with the toys came up, right?
Mm.
Yeah, the toys were just attracted to her and followed her for that reason. It didn't feel like there was any depth to her character.
She does like a nice thing, and it's so on the nose.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this is a kid's film. But then when you compare it to something like, when you start criticizing a kids' film, someone's like, yeah, but it's just for kids. And you're like, what about a film like The Iron Giant or any of the first 3 Toy Story films, or name a Pixar film that like made you cry or something when you're an adult watching it. And I feel like a lot of people, can easily point to something like that. And so
I get that argument. I wasn't even looking for necessarily like a great or a good film. I just wanted a Scooby-Doo film, and it's like it couldn't even do that. I think that's kind of
In the bowling alley, I felt like when Scooby-Doo and Shaggy were behind the counter and they did that moment, kind of trying to serve the monsters. That was a bit reminiscent. That felt like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
That whole sequence in the amusement park, and what I was saying before, like they pretend to be something, and then these monsters play along for some reason. I really enjoyed those, but it went really quickly. It was like they'd given them like meth, and like it was so fast.
That was the whole film. just trying to like move forward.
I felt like this film could just slow down heaps and maybe try to expand. Like that scene where they dress up as these carnival guys handing out popcorn. It goes for 5 seconds. I thought they could have gone for like at least a minute.
Oh yeah, there was hardly any of that in this.
No.
Also, when the camera pans to Scooby and Shaggy when Blue Falcon's having a chat. And they're like running in and out of the frame with Cerberus chasing them. That's like moments that's more reminiscent.
Actually, should we get to Cerberus now, or is that too far in?
That's way too far. I know
Is it a spoiler? Is it a spoiler?
So this has got a pretty stellar cast attached to it.
So we've got Ken Jeong, we got Zac Efron, we've got
Will Forte.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried. Ken Jeong.
Yeah, all of them are pretty.
Tracy Morgan.
It's a lot of A-listers.
Well, A-list.
No, I'm in there.
They're big names.
I would say like most of these people are incredibly well known, and
Simon Cowell.
Yeah, how to get him.
How does Simon
Some
Cowell...
of these jokes, like I
don't know.
feel like this script was written maybe a decade ago or something, because they reference like Harry Potter and Simon Cowell and like a lot of things that just feel a bit too late. Like
there's a joke where they're like, and they're talking about how bad Dick Dastardly is, and like they're looking at him, and they're like, and he even like steals Netflix, or he doesn't pay for his Netflix, and
comedy.
and it's like a joke from like 5 years ago when Netflix first started becoming very like accessible and in everyone's home.
Look, I appreciate what the movie tried to do.
I don't.
I
disagree.
What did it try to,
disagree.
what did it try to do, Danny?
Oh, I mean, it was trying to set up a whole reboot of the cinematic universe with these characters that you've known and loved from the 60s and 70s.
Pretty hard reboot.
They tried it with the Mummy and the Frankenstein and shit. Like, that's a bad idea. Don't do that.
But using these characters that everyone knows and loves.
But do they I don't think that Scooby-Doo's a thing that people really remember, because it was sort of trashy and camp.
Think about if it was a reboot of, say, Wacky Races as compared to Scooby-Doo, which one would you feel would be
Wacky Races?
Well, they're doing both anyway.
Well, I mean, true. But I was using Wacky Races because Dick Dastardly is in this.
I think there's a lot more nostalgia for Wacky Races from older audience. I mean, for like the people
I
actually...
think Scooby-Doo as well.
Scooby-Doo's such a
I'm
it's still a kind
barely
of household name. Like,
I
They
barely know
still
what
show-
Wacky Races is.
I'm fairly sure they still show the cartoons in the morning on...
definitely still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what they tried to do with that, what they did with that is a good start. Obviously, the script needed much more refining and a little bit more content.
I feel like they picked it up out of a pile. They're like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Simon Cowell, whatever.
Well, I mean,
I
yeah,
feel like the script was really tight in a very studio kind of way that you could tell by 50 minutes in, Shaggy realizes that he needs this. It felt like 15 people went, okay, on page 15 we need the inciting incident.
Yeah, it's
Emotional
very
beats.
focus
It
group.
felt like that, but it was pretty sparse as for like the actual meat on the bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what it tried to do,
Yeah.
even though it didn't really do it. But it's a nice start, and if they get a sequel going or something, and they refine the script a lot more and get a good writer in.
Do you know how well this film's done, and if it would lead to like a, will we see the Jetsons?
I don't know, but I'm
Will we see
assuming.
like more like
Yeah.
old
Flintstones.
school?
You heard it here first.
Definitely.
That being said, I'm more excited for like stuff like the Jetsons to be animated and rebooted.
I feel like that would work in a sense because the Jetsons are so dated now because it's technology. It's like,
And are we going to see a return of John Goodman as Fred Flintstone?
We have to.
Yabba dabba
We have to.
Yabba dabba do it.
Yabba dabba
who would you
do.
cast? Who would you cast as the new Fred Flintstone?
This is on topic. No,
We're just having fun.
I
don't think
would
of any
cast-
large comedians. at
I'd
the
still go
moment.
for John Goodman.
Yeah. So Simon Cowell funds Mystery Inc., so they're basically One Direction.
I think it feels so absurd that like that's like obviously inciting.
Yeah, that's the
incidents.
catalyst for this entire movie.
It's like in 30 years, I know, like, of course this film is gonna have no watchability in 30 years, and we're not planning for that, for this to be a timeless classic, but this is gonna get, it's already dated, and I just imagine in 5 years it'll be so much
You know
more
what it
dated.
reminded me of? Like in some of the new Simpsons episodes, like back in the day, they'd have Michael Jackson on, but he wouldn't like play himself. He'd play a character. But
Yeah.
now it'd be like, look, it's Demi Lovato. Like, it
Yeah.
reminded me of that. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like, you know, Simon Cowell's voicing that rap. You know?
Or like Lisa Goes Gaga and
Oh,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Shaggy's voice cast, because as much as, you know, what's his name?
Will
Forte did an alright job, but I still can't help feeling that Matthew Lillard would have done it better.
Wasn't his forte.
Well, bring him back.
I like Matthew Lillard more.
Who's
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard?
He's the
Well,
one that played
yeah.
Shaggy in the
He did a good job.
2000s.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He was also great in Scream and Twin Peaks.
I feel like there was this quality of like, I don't know, I got really upset with also the idea of Shaggy being such a miserable motherfucker. Like, Shaggy to me is this like spaced out hippie dude who's always just like, man, I don't care, I'm just gonna sit here and eat dog food. And he's like constantly, I don't know, you could say, well, no, they have mysteries already, so it's not like this is before the mystery team or whatever happens. It's definitely like during what the show would be. He's just like, I don't know, he's no fun, he's so worried all the time, and like that is a quality that he's a scaredy cat.
Yeah, but I
So
agree with
insecure
this.
in this film.
Yeah, he's got to have that weird. He doesn't have the stoner vibe.
He's very
Oh.
controlling.
No wonder he turned to smoking dope all day. He's a wreck.
No, all
His
he does
anxiety,
is
man, is just
paranoid.
through that.
Yeah, all he does is like limit like Scoob's making some friends, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm not special. Scoob doesn't love just me anymore." And it's like, dude, Scoob's allowed to have other friends. He's allowed to have a life outside of you.
He can do his own thing.
Oh my god.
Do you guys feel that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy had like no dynamic? Like, this film is meant to be about their friendship and then, you know, being sort of tested and tried or whatever, but I feel like there was never a time they really felt like, you know, in sync or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
It was like there was maybe times that they're both eating and stuff, but it was never times like they both clearly had the same goal and objection. And
Or you
like,
could tell the actors were in the same booth going back and forth and just having a great time.
yeah.
They never made a sandwich. It was never like one of those
Yeah,
things.
they
like-
did.
No, they had a sandwich, but they didn't have like a make a sandwich.
Like,
Like,
yeah,
wait
they
for it.
Hey, let's
they
go in the
didn't.
fridge, and then they take
Oh,
out
they
like
didn't
a
do that.
whole
Yeah, they
bunch
didn't do
of-
that.
On the
Moments.
beach,
Yeah.
you know, they make a little sandwich.
Yeah, they steal the gyros from the Greek shop. And
In the cartoon, they would eat that whole gyros. They wouldn't
Absolutely.
slice off
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
portion.
They put the bread on top of it.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah.
Or even
I
like
mean,
have a
they
joke
kinda
where
just-
they're like, or even have a joke where like they're getting up to hijinks in the van, and as an adult you're like, they're getting high.
Yeah.
Like, and then you cut to them in the van, they're doing something silly.
Dude, that's exactly what they
Yeah.
do in the live action one. It
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
with them on Venice Beach and then it
Yeah.
pans down and there's smoke coming out of the van and they're cooking.
yeah, like something like that would have been great.
And that's the thing about I really don't remember much of the live action. I think it's obviously pretty stupid and cringy at times, but they definitely try
Shaggy, right?
and fall into they try and fall into that campy quality far more, and the tongue-in-cheekness of the whole thing. And I don't think this was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. One of the few things I liked about this film was maybe Falcon, like, by Mark Wahlberg. Didn't love him, but like
he was tolerable.
Yeah, he was far more tolerable than everyone else, and I liked like the bit where he's like, "Oh, this is my like care package, you know, the DVD from my dad, just Falcon around." No Falcon around, and then my follow-up book, just Falcon around, and that was good.
What I didn't like about this movie is how much Scooby talks.
Oh yeah, and he says I love you at one point, and he pronounces the L, and I'm like, Scooby doesn't say
Oh
L's.
yeah, the voice work was terrible on Scooby.
He talks way too much for the movie, and it made me feel really uncomfortable.
I thought there was going to be a moment at the end where it's like that passage on that stone thing that he has to read to save the day or whatever, and I thought he was going to like come up to it and be like, "Row, row, row," and like he wouldn't be able to pronounce it, and so he couldn't.
That would be great. Why did he do that? That was great.
And he has to think of a way. He has to really try hard.
How do you guys find the animation in this?
I liked it. I thought, going back to what I said about Peabody and Sherman, the remake, I thought that animation was good, and this one kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
I have no faults with it. I thought the zaniness of Scooby-Doo kind of fits this sort of animation.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't really go anywhere with the zaniness, but
I think for me, the animation was fine just because I had so many problems with everything else that I was like, I'll let that slide.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But that's not the worst of it.
Right, there's other things.
Forget that.
Yeah, I dealt with it. It's they're trying to adapt it. Maybe it's easier than the older animation in a way.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that they were going for some of those classic moments where, you know, something happens and, you know, it's a jump to sort of thing. But I felt like there was this quality just about the texturing of everything that kept throwing me off. Like, it felt like some things were like way over textured and other things like skin.
Well, the environments were really detailed and kind of photoreal, and then the character models were like, there were no pores on their face, and like they were like maybe for every actual for every hair on their head, I would have like 14. They were just like strands and stuff.
Yeah, or it's like you'd see something that has like a huge complexity to it, and then other things that didn't.
This wasn't a cohesiveness I felt within it, and like you pointed out at the start, when it's that montage of them going from kids to adults, and they're like running through the door and stuff. There's like no motion blur on them, and it's just them like crystal clear.
I think I like that.
Really?
Yeah, I think it provides it with the cartooniness.
It just felt like really like, I don't know. It felt like the lighting even in it. I don't know. It's you know, it's not real lighting, but so it'd have to make sort of sense because there would be fake lights, but
I don't know. I thought it was weird, like you're saying, like also with the environments, because you got Venice Beach, you had the spaceship, you had like a bright jungle and stuff. None of it felt Scooby-Doo, so there was no like atmosphere or something interesting with the style. I didn't think it was that great.
I mean, most of Scooby-Doo is set in haunted houses and stuff.
They did the haunted house opening, and they were like, "Well, we've done that."
Yeah.
I mean, how much of the film was set during nighttime, even like just like a bit at the start and a bit at the end?
And if I see one more set piece in like a fair or carnival in the next few years, I'm gonna vomit.
I feel like that's a bit of a classic Scooby-Doo location, so it's fair game for them to do it.
I've just seen too many like blockbuster movies have like set pieces in like there was a Zombieland 2, Shazam,
Us.
Sorry?
Us, US.
Yeah.
As in us. We were never in carnival.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're in Venice Beach right now.
Who's gonna?
I can hear the waves.
Why? I can hear the birds.
They're calling me.
Okay.
What? Yes, they're calling me now.
So I didn't have so much of an issue because I think the animation was all very similar. The only big issue was really Simon Cowell. Because he felt so out of place. Like, if you look at his character model and then the others.
Yeah, he's got like so much texture on his face with the stubble.
I actually didn't mind at the end when then Dick Dastardly takes over his mask with Simon Cowell. I was like, that's pretty scary.
I was watching it. I was watching it with Chris, and halfway through he's like, "It's gonna be Simon Cowell."
Because he's a villain. I would be like, that's why it's Simon Cowell.
The thing is, you know it's going to be Simon Cowell because all the characters are there. Yeah. Every other character is pretty much much in the scene.
Was it going to be Captain Caveman?
Who was it going to be? Yeah.
And then it turns out to be a double reveal. It was still.
That's so disappointing.
I enjoyed that.
I love that.
I was
hated
just like,
that.
how would it be Simon? Why would he be dressing up as this Dick Dastardly while he's like in
Funding
outer
them.
space and like
And funding them.
Yeah.
But I think that's the one thing at least they could have kept. That's Scooby-Doo having a reveal. Instead,
Yeah.
instead they're like, double, hey, it's just Dick Dastardly.
They're
Like,
trying to keep things fresh. I mean, obviously they're gonna know that they're gonna do a face reveal, and obviously they're gonna do something
They're
like.
trying to play into your
Yeah.
expectations.
but it
Yeah,
just
it
felt
turned
like
off as a
Simon
throwaway
Cowell.
joke.
Yeah, he was so pointless. He was
Yeah.
there at the start and to be a throwaway
And I was
joke.
like, that justifies that thing that I was having an issue with, which was Simon Cowell in the movie.
yeah.
I just want to say they didn't even try with that, that sort of, end moment. It's just this statue appears and out of nowhere, and it's like, well, here's an opportunity to bring back the character. This has not been set up in any way before.
Yeah, it's just a Deus Ex Machina, really.
I didn't have high hopes going into this film, but I thought I would definitely appreciate it as a fan of the genre of the Monster of the Week, vehicle.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give this film a 2. I thought that it wasn't necessarily like terrible, like something like The Room, where lions you can mock and stuff. Like, it was competent enough, but outside of that, it wasn't. I can't recommend it. Wasn't worth watching.
I would disagree with that. I thought that the animation was good. The story for the first 10 minutes was good. Then it kind of melded into a sort of generic run-of-the-mill script, which, I mean, for a Scooby-Doo film is a little disappointing. Actually, for any film, it's disappointing, but nevertheless...
Especially for such a...
Staple.
Yeah, for such a zany film, to have, run-of-the-mill stuff is a little bit disappointing. The comedy in it for the first 10 minutes, I thought was stellar. I thought every single joke landed. And so I was kind of coasting that sort of... Yeah, I know, right? So the fact that it sort of coasted along those sort of beats the entire time without really saying anything funny was a little bit disappointing as well. So I don't think it was a bad movie. Just didn't think it was a great movie. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with my rating. I'm going to give it a 2. I didn't feel like I recognized any of the characters, and I felt like they were lacking in a lot of depth. There were a few scenes that I kind of enjoyed, but I just wish there was more of it. Animation I didn't really care for, but it wasn't a leading problem. So yeah, I'm going to stick with a 2.
Yeah, look, I agree with both you and Charles, and yeah, it's just like even if it was just a Scooby-Doo movie, I would have enjoyed it. On some level, I might not have thought it was great though. But it's just weird superhero thing, and I thought all of the locations were so visually bland and boring and bright, and it was
especially when you think of old Scooby-Doo,
Yeah.
and they have these super crazy painting sort of backgrounds, and they're very, very atmospheric.
Yeah, and all the screenwriting was so mediocre, and just anything that you kind of need there is there, and maybe some of the jokes here and there were funny. Ironically even
Feels really out of place with
Yeah.
the whole plot of these dinosaur dogs.
Yeah,
skulls,
exactly.
and
It was
Scooby
so
doing an
weird.
Ancestor.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also no Matthew Lillard. 2 out of 10.
No problem.
Yeah, I very much dislike this film for a plethora of reasons. Both sentimental for myself. Which one? Give me everything. Yeah, I did enjoy this film on a level of a Scooby-Doo film, as somebody who was, in a way a fan of the original. Didn't feel like a Scooby-Doo fan. Of just a movie in its own right, I didn't think it was very good. The structure was terrible. The characterization was bland and boring, and a lot of the time dislikable. There were very few characters that I enjoyed seeing on screen. I think, and I said Blue Falcon. I didn't think it was that great, but just comparatively,
he had a character arc.
yeah, and he was far more. I don't know. It was just less annoying to see. But I thought this was a big mess. Just a big mess of trying to put down all these ideas together that didn't belong in the same place and weren't really thoroughly thought out. Like, it could have worked, but really didn't. I give this a 2 out of 10. Not a fan.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. If you come from Bad Idea Bot, you're the best. And be sure to tune in next time for A Rainy Day in New York. So, take care, guys. See ya.
Bye-bye!
This addition to the Scooby-Doo franchise, for me, is a Scooby-Dooby don't.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you?
We got
some
work to do now. Work to do?
Yeah.
Why?